Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Battlefield 1 Mailbox. I decided to scrap the name Monday Mailbox just because I don't really want to limit myself to posting this series only on one day. Because, for example, the previous week we had other important news to talk about on Monday in the news videos, and then I couldn't really post the Monday Mailbox because, what, I'll post it on Tuesday again, or even on Wednesday? It looks stupid because then why is it called the Monday Mailbox if it doesn't come every Monday? But putting this aside, as always, we'll take a look at your questions and discuss them. The first one comes from a guy called Dziki Briki. Again, I don't know because it looks kind of Polish, the first word, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say Dziki or it's Dziki, so let's just read the question. He says, "Hello Crafter, I'd like to know what's your point of view about TDK 2.0 after a few months. Some players loved the changes, but others hated it so much that they uninstalled the game. What do you think about it?" Well, as I've stated many times throughout multiple videos, I am in the first group who loves the changes of the TDK 2.0. But, at the same time, I also think that DICE should not, and I repeat, they should not, mess with such core things in the game, such as time to kill, almost 2 years after releasing the game. Alright, I know it wasn't exactly 2 years, it's been more like a year, but still, it's not early access PUBG to change the whole game meta a year after the game came out. Because players got used to playing it, and they got used to playing it because they liked the previous system. And what's even more surprising to me is the fact that DICE made the exact same mistake with Battlefield 4, where previously, at the beginning when the game came out, they had, in their opinion, too low time to kill, and they had to increase it by lowering the damages of the weapons. In Battlefield 1 it was the exact opposite, because they started too high and they had to lower it. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for improving the game and providing players with better gameplay experience. But let's not change the whole game meta a year after it came out, especially if it's a game that has a 2-year life cycle. And talking about Battlefield 1's life cycle ending, let's take a look at the questions regarding Battlefield 5, or Battlefield 2018, however you want to call it. The first one comes from Kaiser's Maid Cafe and Knife Sparring Club. I'm wondering what you had in mind while creating the account, mate. Anyway, the question itself is actually good. Listen to this. Monday Mailbox question. Hi Crafter, whatever. Do you think it will be a massive problem if Battlefield 2018 was World War II setting and plays similarly to Battlefield 1? It might be conflicting having World War II as a setting if the gunplay copies Battlefield 1 gunplay. Before we get into this discussion, I just want to mention one thing. Many of Battlefield 1 players, or in general Battlefield players, think that Battlefield 1's gunplay and generally gameplay mechanics are designed the way they are because of the game being in World War I theme. It is not true. Battlefield World War II or Battlefield 1 with World War I setting could easily have the gunplay of PUBG. It easily could. And Battlefield World War II could easily have a gunplay of Fortnite. Those things don't go together. And I want to clarify it because I see tons of players who are posting statements that Battlefield 1 is different from Battlefield 4 in terms of gunplay because guns in World War I were not that accurate. This is totally false. DICE was not aiming for the historical accuracy with the gunplay. They wanted to make a different gunplay mechanics. And as for the question itself, what will happen if Battlefield World War II is too similar to Battlefield 1 in terms of gunplay? I think it might actually create a massive problem, as you described it. Because, let's be honest here, a lot, and I mean really a lot of players dislike Battlefield 1 because of the gunplay. they stopped playing the game because they don't enjoy how the shooting mechanics work. And they might be turned off from buying the next Battlefield the moment they hear that the gunplay is similar. Or even worse, exactly the same. Now personally, I believe that the whole problem doesn't exactly lay down in the gunplay. I think that it's a mix of the gunplay combined with the whole game meta. Because Battlefield 1 maps are mostly open, let's admit it. There isn't that much cover on those maps. Which leads us to the conclusion that majority of firefights are not on the close range. There are either medium range or long range. Well, at least majority of the engagements that you could take, but you can't really do it unless you play with the medic or scout. Let's be brutally honest here. Ever since TTK 2.0 was released to the vanilla game, Battlefield 1 shifted towards medic meta. It is much more efficient and at the same time effective to use the medic class on pretty much every map in every game mode. Because whichever weapon you decide to pick, you can still engage with it on pretty much every distance. You can pick the Fedorov and play aggressively on the short to medium range. But if you want to extend it to the long distances, you can also do it with the Fedorov. And you can't do it with the Assault using Hellriegel or the MP18. I mean, of course, you can try tickling your enemies to death with dealing 10 damage per shot, but let's be honest, if someone has a medic rifle, they can easily outplay you. Granted, you do have an advantage on the close distance, but as I've already mentioned, majority of maps and game modes are big and open. Which means that if you pick a medic, not only you have a better weapon for the distance fights, but also the map plays to your advantage. It really amazes me that almost half a year after TTK 2.0, there is still barely anyone running with the medic class. And as we are talking about weapons, the next question comes from Fared Dunk 101. I probably pronounced it wrong, but the question is very good. What do you think DICE should do about weapon variants in BF 2018? Remove them. I'm completely serious right now. Like, what was the problem with attaching a grip to your weapon and making it a trench variant? Or attaching different optics and allowing it to be a marksman variant? Like, what's wrong? Although, let's not bring back the customization from Battlefield 4, where half of the attachments were basically a one-to-one copy of the other half of the attachments, and the only difference in those was visual. I think that DICE came up with variants in Battlefield 1 because they didn't really have enough weapons to put in the game. Don't get me wrong, but Battlefield 1 would look empty if you click on the weapon selection screen and compare it to Battlefield 4. At least before the DLCs came out. It would really look empty. And with variants, when someone buys the game and sees so many weapons to purchase, well, customers' brain already see that the content was worth their money, at least as the first impression. And the last one for today from a random name. So if Battlefield 2018 wasn't World War II, pretty much confirmed it is, what other war or theme would you want instead of it? Just to be clear, I personally don't really care about the theme of the game. I'm looking for a good gameplay. But if I were to choose, I'd probably choose Vietnam and, as a secondary option, modern times. But not something futuristic, just modern times as Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4. Although Battlefield 4 was placed couple of years in the future, but still, it's not something futuristic, it's just couple of years. And that would be it for this video, guys. Make sure to leave your questions down in the comments under this video for the next episode, and as always, if you enjoyed, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and I see you on the battlefield.